In the test kitchen, we demand a lot of a food processor. It better be able to handle lots of chopping, slicing, and shredding with professional quality results. It should puree dip, whip up creamy mayonnaise, cut fat into pie crust, and grind beef into hamburger, not to mention kneading heavy pizza dough. Plus, it really should be simple to use and quick to clean, or else why would we ever want to use it? Now, when we set out to test new models of food processors, we bought 8, priced from about $60 to $300. They had capacities of 11 to 14 cups, which is a size that can handle most recipes. We also tested 2 professional-style food processors that cost over $400, and I'll tell you more about that later. In our tests, chopping was a major focus. It's usually what we do with a food processor. So we made mirepoix, a blend of diced carrots, onions, and celery that forms the basis for a lot of sauces, soups, and stews. We also ground almonds, minced fresh parsley, and ground chunks of beef with cold butter into hamburger meat. The point was to get uniform pieces of food at whatever size we were aiming for, but sometimes that just didn't pan out. For instance, we wanted quarter-inch pieces of mirepoix, but sometimes we got mush, strewn with bigger chunks. One of the biggest factors for success was the length of time the machine ran once we pushed the pulse button. You want short, jerky pulsing to toss ingredients around the bowl and into the blades. The best ran only as long as we were pushing the button, and that was a fraction of a second in our top models. The worst kept running for nearly 2 full seconds, over-processing food and often letting bigger pieces just ride around on the blades without getting chopped. The other important factor was the distance between the blades and the bottom and sides of the work bowl. This ranged from 3 millimeters to more than 10 millimeters. Smaller gaps are critical to make sure food can't escape uncut. Slicing and shredding with a food processor can be a huge time saver, especially when you need large quantities like piles of shredded cheese for pizza, or carrot shreds for salad, or potato slices for gratin. We shredded soft cheddar cheese and crunchy carrots, and sliced delicate tomatoes and firm potatoes for the full range of possible food textures. When we looked at the results, we considered both how cleanly pieces were cut and how much waste was left behind. Now, sometimes this was food trapped in the machine, and sometimes it was food we had to trim off so it would fit in the feed tube. One machine forced us to trim off up to 1/3 of a potato before it would go in. The best models fit the food and left almost nothing behind. Blade quality mattered. Dull blades hacked up and bruised the food, spraying the work bowl with juices. Sharp ones made clean, dry cuts, leaving the juices in the food. Now, a few models had special slicing features, but some were better than others. This lever on the Kitchenaid lets you adjust slice thickness, but you have to guess and waste food with trial and error because the settings are unmarked. On the Breville, you can just dial up the precise thickness by millimeters. Next, we tested mixing. We made quick pie crusts, letting the blades cut in the fat. They mostly handled that job well, but some made a mess, blowing flour all over the interior of the work bowl. We pushed the machine's upper limits by having them process a double batch of heavy pizza dough. And a few really struggled with this, showing they weren't up to the job. A bunch of machines failed on something very simple, mayonnaise. Our recipe yields about 1 cup and uses just 2 egg yolks. Half these machines came with a mini bowl, so we used that with this small job. But some, including our winner, could do it even without a mini bowl. And once again, it came down to that distance of the blades to the bottom and sides of the work bowl. Some of these had blades that just spun right over the top of the eggs. Total failure. Now, you could see this when we put in a cup of yogurt in each machine and used blue and yellow drops of food color, timing how long it took to turn solid green. The best ones did it in less than 25 seconds. The worst ones never fully got rid of blue or yellow streaks. Now, sometimes you want to process chunky liquid into smoothness for soups, so we tried blending 28-ounce cans of whole tomatoes. And while they could all handle 28 ounces, it made us wonder how much more each machine could handle without leaking. So we carefully filled each food processor with water to its maximum liquid fill line and turned them on. And we got everything from a flood to a trickle to not a drop spilled. Now, some of the ones with fancy gaskets that promised to seal in liquids didn't do anything to prevent leaks. They just made the lid annoyingly sticky to slide on and off every time. Our winner didn't leak, even without a gasket. Finally, we factored in cleanup. The worst models were rife with complicated nooks and crannies that trapped food and were hard to get clean and dry. The best had smooth, simple surfaces. Our top models' work bowls were also dishwasher safe. Now, in the end, nothing beat our old favorite, which is the Cuisinart Custom 14 food processor. It had it all. a nice responsive pulse button, and a solid base that didn't jump around on the counter. Powerful chopping, smooth slicing, and shredding, and just 3 blades that do all the tasks that you really need. No big extra box of frills to store. If you want extra blades for something special, they're sold separately. At $161.99, this was not the cheapest model we tested, but it was the very best. Now, as for those super-priced professional-style food processors by KitchenAid and Waring Commercial, they were fine, but they didn't do anything you couldn't do just as well with our winner at a fraction of the price, so don't waste your money. Now, one final note. After 18 months of heavy daily use in our test kitchen, constantly being washed in our commercial dishwasher, some cracks appeared in the metal of the S-shaped chopping blades on our winning food processor. Cuisinart is updating the blades for this model. Here's the new blade, which will be in all new copies of this machine. In the meantime, if you own this food processor, we recommend checking the S-blade every time you use it. In fact, this would be a good practice with a chopping blade of any food processor. And please check our website at cooksillustrated.com for updates on this and all of our tests.